All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get into week 166. And I'm going to tell you, you're being lied to by a lot of creators out there that have no idea what they're talking about. The main problem is there's a ton of misrepresentation happening with some content out there, and some of it's getting a lot of attention, some of it's not. But like, I don't know who you're paying attention to, so I don't know where you're getting this information or what you're hearing, or what in fact you're actually believing. So, and a good example is on my, if you follow me on TikTok, I put the link in the actual market report so you can see what I'm talking about specifically. Is somebody who put out a screenshot of a property that was listed for just over $1 million, and the sale was reported at over $10 million. Obviously, anybody with two brain cells in their head would just call the listing or the buyer's agent and confirm exactly what's going on over there. And which is what I did. And it took me 30 seconds to find out it was a mistake. But this person just flat out lied and said they had confirmed with the people involved in the transaction and that that is exactly what it was. And then, of course, that triggered a bunch of responses that said, oh, money laundering and this. And, somebody even thought that, oh, this is what they're doing to pretend that prices are actually increasing when they're not. Like, people reaching for all kinds of different conclusions, all based on this one ridiculous piece of content, which is not true. So I like to call that out as often as possible whenever I can. And in this scenario, it wasn't a major content creator with a lot of attention, so it wasn't as big a deal as it could have been, but it is what it is. So that's kind of becoming my mission more and more, is to just make sure that I am able to add context to all of the information that you are hearing and seeing out there. And hopefully I've done a good job of that, and especially after 166 weeks of reporting on the market on these very 5 specific communities that I have identified. Hopefully you understand by now that I do have my finger on this pulse, and I'm not just saying things to get you to just buy stuff so I can make money and be in places like this. And don't worry, I'm not just always, traveling the world, and I'm not some independently wealthy, some person that doesn't need your business, because I definitely do. I happen to be at another wedding, and 2 close friends and colleagues of mine are getting married, and they happen to be destination weddings, so I'm going to go to them. You know what I mean? But we're not going anywhere for a little while because my house still is not sold, and I got to get that thing moved. So anyway, so week 166 had some really interesting things to show us, mainly all of the inventory that was pulled back from the condo market last week, and I've hyperlinked last week's report in the market report, so please make sure you read the whole thing, was basically added right back on, but sales are still maintaining a super high level. So overall, I'm not too worried about the market, but just know that last week's severe pullback in the number of listings for condos was just a temporary thing, and now we're back to that normal, roughly 1,400-ish units on the market, kind of normal level, which maintains somewhat balanced market. But overall, it also does create an environment where some of the hotter listings are selling a lot faster when some of the less attractive ones or less desirable ones are still sitting. It's not a full-on seller's market in condo land, but it is getting close to that in some weeks and not others, which is why this weekly reporting is so important. For example, if you were a buyer last week, you would have probably had a slightly different experience than this week. Maybe you have a little bit less competition because we literally have 200 more units on the market in that specific area. The downtown urban markets generally, and I define the urban markets as the downtown core plus all the surrounding communities, like, think Leslieville, Roncy, Hyde Park, kind of all that kind of stuff. And then, but the other communities obviously are self-explanatory. So, but the one thing I want you to pay attention to are houses. Houses have been adding supply consistently for 4 weeks in a row now. So I do feel like there is that summer lull coming sooner than I expected. And it shouldn't be a major surprise, I guess, if you really look back at what I've been talking about for the past little while about the summer lull. But, I, along with many other creators, let me adjust my mic here. I, along with many other content creators and deep real estate data nerds, did not expect 2023 to be as active as it is. So just like, the activity started sooner than we expected, it's probably going to stop sooner than we expected as well, which is really important to know if you are a buyer right now. Do you wait and do you see what happens as things cool down? In my experience, there haven't been enough listings selling at a big enough discount to make waiting, if you find the right one today, like a good decision. But there will be more opportunity for buyers down the road, I'm fairly certain. But there are some interesting opportunities right now. Like, we have clients that are about to buy a property in North Riverdale without any competition under the asking price, at a great value, in my opinion, where some properties are flying off the shelf. So there are still some gems out there that do have some negotiating room, just not as many, and they're not as obvious as you might think. So we'll see what happens in the coming months, but I do feel like just like this market picked up quicker than we expected, it's going to slow down sooner than we expected. So what I think we're going to do is, rather than have like a July August market lull, we're probably going to have a June July lull, with things picking up for the fall market potentially sooner than expected. But we'll see what that looks like when the numbers roll in over the coming weeks, because I don't like to look too far ahead, but I do like to know what's happening in real time right now. So that's essentially where we're at. And what's really interesting to me is that buyers right now are paying some prices that they were paying back in January, February, March of 2022, which, in my opinion, was like peak crazy in terms of what things were selling for. Like, my clients are picking up a semi in North Riverdale as we speak for just under $2.1 million, where a similar one sold for about $3 million last year. Not like a direct apples to apples comparison, but like that kind of $3 million sale is going to take years to recover from for that particular buyer. That was an anomaly, but that's the kind of craziness that was happening back then. But the big difference is today we have, variable rates at, 5.5% up to 5.9%, depending on, whether you're a CMHC covered borrower or not, and fixed rates in the high fours. In my opinion, I still think variable might be the way to go, because there is downward pressure on the rates in the future. I don't know if locking in a 5-year in the high fours makes sense when the 5.5 variables are probably going to be down into the mid fours and lower in the next 12 months or so. Like, the Bank of Canada is not going to be touching rates this year, in terms of bringing them down anyway. But the next rate announcement is on June 7th. And on June 7th, we're going to see a very interesting reaction to whatever happens, because, on June 7th, the Bank of Canada could increase by 25 basis points. And in my opinion, another increase is, I think is going to break some buyers. It's going to break some borrowers. And I don't think they're going to be buying as intensely as they are buying today. So if we do have a 25 basis point or more increase on June the 7th, it will essentially cause the summer halt. It will remove buyers from the market immediately. Who knows what they'll do? In my opinion, I feel like they are going to be halting rates again on the back of just a 25 basis point increase in the States at the last announcement, and positive inflation numbers. I don't see them increasing the rate again in June, but I don't want to make that call until it happens. We got a month to wait for that, which means we have a 1-month window of similar buying activity that we are seeing right now. I don't see the market changing too much in the next 3 weeks. But June 7th is another important date for us to pay very close attention to. Because, like I said, if we don't have an increase, it kind of extends this market a little bit. But like I said, extending the market, as long as inventory doesn't go beyond really where it is now, because once we cross over into that 500 listing threshold for houses, then we're going to see some more supply than there is demand. So that is probably one of the main things that I'm looking at right now, because if you look at the actual months of inventory statistic, it's been going up every single month, and I just refreshed those numbers today again. So if you look at, if you click the link in the comments below, wherever you're reading this, and you see the make sure you scroll down below what I write, because right down there I have all my average numbers. We've got all the charts that have been compiling data for 166 weeks in a row, and I don't think a lot of people scroll past what I write. So it's really important to look at the bottom pages there, and really look at the months of inventory data, and then go back and compare it to the other reports from the previous weeks and kind of see that gradual increase, because we're well over 2 months in pretty much every category in every neighborhood. With the exception of neighborhoods like Birchcliff and the Kingston Road corridor, which luckily where my house is, where a lot of our clients are putting a lot of their money right now. But if inventory starts to increase, it continues to increase the way it is right now, regardless of what happens with rates, it is going to meet the demand at some point, and things are going to slow down. So the slowdown is inevitable. It's just a matter of, does it happen because of a rate hike, or does it happen because of supply finally meeting demand and then some, or is it a combination of both of those things? And one thing I want to really make sure you understand is, if you're listening to any content creators out there, and if you hear a market report start with, and the April numbers are just in, you're about to hear some irrelevant data that does not matter to you today because it's late. Because those numbers don't come out until like the first week of the month after, and then by the time the report is compiled and the content is made, those numbers are in the past. They don't mean anything today. That's why this weekly reporting is super important, and I'm absolutely shocked that nobody takes the time to do this. But many realtors that are talking weekly are using these numbers here, and I'm okay with that. Like if you're a realtor that is using this data, I want you to use it because I think it's the most relevant data that exists in the market today, regardless of what you might say. I don't have the most subscribers on YouTube. I don't have the most followers in all these places. But at the same time, it is the most relevant data that does exist, and it's slowly starting to catch on, which is really exciting for me. And the team, of course, because the team has been able to serve our clients at the highest possible level because of all this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to cut it short right there at just over 10 minutes because obviously I'm here in paradise and I have to get ready for this wedding that we're going to go to. But if you have any questions, comment below. But please be aware where you're getting your information. I'm just sickened at all the trash content that's out there that simply exists to trigger people and get followers and likes and create anxiety. Like I would be okay with it if that was a hook used to provide more relevant information, but it's not. It's really not. It's just a vanity ego thing that really pisses me off. So anyway, so that's where we're at right now. I want to start some more combos with you guys, so comment below and let's keep this going, and look forward to seeing you in week 167. Have a good day, everybody.